Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're not just analyzing sources, we're going to be telling some stories. We're setting a course for open water into a collection of really personal first-hand accounts. True stories of terror and just unexplained things that happen out there.
Right, and these are those moments we all kind of dread, where a place that's meant for recreation, a bay, the open ocean, even a quiet canal, just suddenly transforms into a setting for pure, genuine fear.
Exactly. So our mission today is really to move through three very distinct narratives, sequentially, and just feel what makes them so unsettling. The core element in all of them is the same.
Maritime space.
It's always the water. It's a space where, distance and darkness don't just hide threats. They almost seem to create them.
They absolutely do. The vastness of the water reduces your visibility, makes communication totally unreliable, and help is just impossibly far away.
So let's begin with the first account. We're calling this one the Lighthouse Incident. So picture this. It's a hot summer, Friday night, middle of July. You've got a group of friends out on a 27-footer, a center console boat, and they're in a bay, sort of a lagoon. They're just floating, using the boat's radar to make sure they don't drift, and they decide to drop anchor for a bit, and they're right near this old Barrier Island lighthouse.
And that's an important detail. A lighthouse at night is a strange symbol, isn't it? It's supposed to mean safety, but when you're out there in the dark, floating near it,
it's creepy.
It's incredibly creepy. It feels like this isolated giant sentinel just presiding over nothingness. So the mood is already a little on edge before anything even happens.
And that mood was just shattered.
Yeah.
A woman's scream, really distinct, really distant, just cuts right across the music they were playing.
Wow.
They kill the engine, silence everything. And then they hear it again. A clear sound of just genuine distress. And it's coming from the small, uninhabited island right next to them.
So your first thought is an accident. Someone fell, someone's hurt.
Right. But it's so hard to communicate across the water. They start yelling, what's wrong? Do you need help? And when they finally make out her response, the entire situation just pivots.
What did she say?
She yelled, "I'm being followed."
Oh, that changes everything.
Instantly. It's not an accident anymore. It's a deliberate threat.
And the clock starts ticking. They know they're the only ones who can help.
So they immediately motor the boat to the island shore. There were 6 people on that boat, and every single one of them just got off. No hesitation.
Wow.
They ran, panicked, straight into the thick brush, barefoot. The account even says their feet were getting all scraped up, bleeding because they were in such a rush.
That's a visceral commitment. They're running toward what could be a lethal situation because they know how alone that woman is.
They're using their flashlights, they're calling out, but the island it's just making it impossible to pin down where she is. And then they heard the last sound, a blood-curdling scream. It was partially muffled, and it came from the complete opposite side of the island. And it had this finality to it.
And this is where it gets really unsettling, right?
This is it. They all converge on that spot, flashlights cutting through the dark, and when they get there, she's gone.
Nothing.
The screaming is just stopped. And all they can hear now is the sound of a big boat motor throttling up hard and driving away fast. They can even see the fresh wake in the water.
A rapid, deliberate escape by someone they never saw.
Exactly. An unseen vessel in what looks for all the world like a kidnapping. They called 911 immediately. The Bay Patrol launched what the source calls a whole manhunt, but they found nothing.
And the detail that really twists the knife?
No reports of a missing woman anywhere in the area.
And that ambiguity, that's the real horror, isn't it? Was it a real kidnapping they almost stopped? Or was it some kind of cruel, elaborate prank designed just to create terror?
The not knowing is what makes it stick with you. It transforms the whole thing into this persistent psychological fear.
It really does.
Let's transition now. We'll move from that sort of sudden crisis to a story where the environment itself, it really became the main threat.
Right.
This is an account from a father and uncle who were avid deep-sea fishermen off Cape Cod back in the 1980s.
And these guys were serious. They're on a big 70s 2-cabin cruiser, and they're 20 miles out to sea.
20 miles. When you're that far offshore, you are completely alone.
No one can hear you, and more importantly, no one can see you.
And visibility became their single biggest problem.
Yeah.
It was an unexpectedly cloudy night, and it was a new moon, so the darkness was total. The father actually described it as sensory deprivation. He said he couldn't tell if his eyes were open or closed.
Wow. That is absolute blackness.
And right at that moment of complete vulnerability, Mechanical failure. They're in the cabin, and 2 fuses just blow.
Oh, no.
Knocks out almost everything, including the essential running lights.
Yeah.
And that failure, 20 miles from shore in pitch black, it immediately changes things from a fishing trip to a survival situation.
They're dead in the water. They can't navigate.
Trying to get back would be a death sentence.
Yeah.
So their only option is to just wait for dawn.
Like that silence, that darkness. It's not peaceful.
Not at all. About an hour into this, the real terror starts. They hear a humming type sound. It's about 20 meters away, just out there in the dark.
A humming sound.
Yeah. They go out on the deck with a big flashlight, and they both agree on one thing immediately. It did not sound like any fish they'd ever heard. It sounded like a person groaning, low and continuous.
A sound that has no business being out there. And this is where the environment just multiplies the fear. They can't see past maybe 5 meters with the flashlight. So you have this deeply unsettling sound coming from extremely close by, and you have absolutely no way to know what it is or what it wants.
That is terrifying, that proximity. They just retreated back into the cabin and waited. Terrified, just waiting for the sun to come up.
And then dawn finally breaks.
Yeah, through a thick fog, they finally spot another boat nearby. A smaller fishing boat, just drifting.
No signs of life.
None. The uncle, Jack, he drives their cruiser over, blows the horn. Nothing. So he ties the boats together and boards the other vessel. And the source is very clear on this part. The second he stepped into that cabin,
he was hit by that disgusting, sickening smell of death.
That's the one. He found a man inside, hanging by a rope.
God.
He backed out immediately, got back to their boat. They marked the coordinates, radioed the Coast Guard on the VHF, and they headed straight for shore.
So the Coast Guard handles the recovery. But for those 2 men, the mystery isn't solved.
Not at all. They were haunted by what they saw, of course, but also by that humming sound they heard in the dark.
Right, and that's the question they're left with forever. Was that humming sound related to the man's death? Maybe a sound of struggle or some mechanical noise from his boat.
Or was it something else entirely? Some other unrelated threat out there in the dark that they just got lucky and avoided by staying put.
The not being able to connect those 2 things.
Yeah.
The hanging man and that horrifying noise. That's the real psychological scar from that story.
It is. It just shows you how when everything fails, your own senses become unreliable. And that uncertainty is its own kind of horror. Our third account, this one brings the terror right up to the doorstep. It's all about the violation of what you think is a safe, private space.
Okay.
This story involves 2 sisters, 23 and 26, living in a house on a private Florida canal. And their house was the very last one before a marsh. So they had this real sense of privacy.
That setup is so important. They are in a protected zone, a sanctuary. And this is all about how a threat moves from a public space into that sanctuary.
Exactly. So the first encounter happens while the sisters are out on their jet skis in the bay, the public area. They're approached by an older man, late 50s, early 60s, heavy set, drinking a beer on his boat.
And he starts making them uncomfortable?
Deeply uncomfortable. He's complimenting them intensely, bragging about how much money he has, inviting them to come swim in his pool.
It starts as just mildly creepy, inappropriate, something women unfortunately have to navigate all the time, but it escalates.
It escalates the second they decide to leave. They notice his boat starts to slowly drift down the canal that, intersects with their own.
So the suspicion changes from just social awkwardness to I'm being watched.
Yes. They go home, they dock their jet skis, and then the violation becomes undeniable. He follows them all the way down their private canal, stops his boat directly in front of their dock.
He's crossed a clear boundary now. He has no reason to be there.
None. And one sister confronts him. He yells out, "Why did you follow us here? That's really creepy." And he gives this really weak excuse about just checking out the canal.
He knows he's been caught.
He knows. Only after she calls him out does he reluctantly turn around and leave. But the damage is done. He now knows exactly where they live.
He has full reconnaissance, the layout of the property, everything.
And later that night, that knowledge turns into an attempted intrusion. The family dog just starts barking like crazy, uncontrollably. One of the sisters looks out her window towards the backyard and the dock, and she was certain. She swore to God she saw a large person running across their yard toward the dock and then a splash as they jumped into the canal.
And they believe it was him.
They are absolutely convinced it was the man from the boat trying to break into their house, and the dog scared him off.
And the most frustrating part of this story, the thing that lets the terror just continue, is that there's no proof.
No proof at all. They're in a gated community, but their backyard, the part facing the water, had no security cameras. So they had nothing. No footage, no boat registration number, nothing to prove what happened.
So the threat is unresolved.
Completely. And their sense of security is just gone. They now have to live knowing that this man knows where they are, and every time they go out on the water, they're scanning the horizon for his boat. That is a relentless kind of terror.
It absolutely is. So if we look at all three of these accounts, we can really see three distinct categories of this kind of waterborne horror. First, you have the sudden crisis, like with the screaming woman. Isolation just makes immediate help impossible. Then you have the environmental vulnerability, the humming mystery.
Where technology fails in total darkness, and your mind has to fill in the blanks.
Exactly. And finally, the escalating psychological threat with the canal stalker, where the water itself becomes the pathway for a threat to violate your private space and then escape without a trace.
What really stands out to me is just how hard it is to get proof. Once something happens out there, the water is the perfect escape route.
It is. The distance offshore, the dark canal, it allows the threat, human or not, to just vanish. And it leaves nothing behind but fear and speculation.
It makes you realize how much you depend on your technology, your radar, your fuses, your radio.
Yeah.
When that stuff fails or when someone uses the environment against you, your margin for error is zero.
And that lack of resolution is the real core of the horror. Was the woman kidnapped? Was the humming just a coincidence? Did the stalker really try to break in? The answer is always, we don't know.
And that uncertainty is the final layer of fear. It makes you think. We prepare for storms. We prepare for the boat breaking down. But how do you prepare for intentional human evil? Or for something truly unexplainable that the ocean just seems to swallow whole?
When you're in a place that's so isolated, every piece of information, or the lack of it, is just amplified. The knowledge you have about your own situation has to be enough because help, it's just not coming in time.
A truly unsettling collection of stories. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into these accounts of terror on the water.
We appreciate you exploring these enduring mysteries with us.
If these stories gave you a chill, make sure to like and share this discussion with someone who appreciates knowledge extracted from compelling and chilling sources. You can find more of our deep dives, including many more explorations of true crime and chilling narratives, right here on the Horror Docs channel.
Until our next dive, stay informed and stay vigilant.
We'll catch you next time.